This is Joshua Hart here for Seconds Out. Delighted today to be joined by Johnny Nelson here at the Beterbiev versus Bivol launch press conference. 3 weeks to go, probably the fight of the year in a lot of people's eyes. How are you first of all, Johnny? You all good?
I'm good, thank you. Just tired from an amazing weekend last week, amazing week from last week, but we roll on, we roll on.
And then, just looking back at last week before we move forward, Anthony Joshua, Daniel Dubois at Wembley, a true spectacle of an event. 98,000 people in attendance. For what a lot of people are putting as one of the biggest upsets we've had in recent boxing. When that fight was going on, what was going through your mind?
I thought it was an amazing, something amazing to see. I thought that the whole night, the whole fight, it was a heavyweight version of Hagler Hearns. And Anthony Joshua showed unbelievable heart in the beating he was taking. Daniel Dubois showed unbelievable determination, unstoppability in the way he fought, and self-belief. So to me it was a brilliant spectacle as a spectator.
For Anthony Joshua, he says that he wants to fight on. Obviously there's a lot of mixed comments online about it. For you, from what you've seen, what do you think Anthony Joshua should do next?
Again, what I think Anthony Joshua should do next is irrelevant. If I was he, I'd walk away. I'd walk away because it's about creating consistency in your career. You know, elevating in the right direction, and that's what I would do. You know, if there's even if there are reasons for why the performance was that it was, it shouldn't happen on that night. It shouldn't happen. He's had too many experiences in our game. I'm a fan of AJ, but if you ask me a question, I'm going to give you my answer, not his answer, or I'm going to give you my answer. So that's just my opinion. So whatever he does, I wish him the best, but I didn't like seeing him getting knocked out in that fashion. I didn't like seeing him getting punched around the ring like that. I didn't like seeing it. I think for what you've done in our sport, for how you've lifted our sport in this country, for this to be happening now, I just didn't like seeing it.
Looking at Daniel Dubois, obviously, I think it's fair to career best performance. He looked better than ever and looked more fired up than ever. A lot of names are out there for him now, but out of the names on that list, who would you like to see Daniel Dubois in there with next?
Well, everybody's going to be hunting for Daniel Dubois because he looks so easy to beat, but in reality, when you're in the ring there with him, he's got the best knockout record of any current boxer now. So Daniel Dubois, does he do a rematch? I don't know if there's a rematch with Anthony Joshua if he decides to box on. Does the likes of Tyson Fury get in with him? You don't know, or depends on how Tyson goes against Usyk. But Daniel Dubois, you've got to look at him. He looks easy to beat, but is he? You know, are we overlooking? Actually, he's a talented kid that's just been ignored at 27-year-old. His style suits a young man, and so for him, he just loves to fight. He'd have done that for nothing. That's your problem. You know, he's a hungry young man coming through. That got in there with somebody who was probably not as hungry.
What did you make of Anthony Joshua's style and the way that he came out with his chin up in the air and the low hand? A lot of people have been making comments about it. What did you think of it when you saw it?
Within the first 30 seconds, I said to Natasha Jonas, she's getting knocked out tonight. If he counts on the far light, he gets knocked out tonight. If he'd have started off, and trust me, I am not comparing Francis Ngannou against Daniel Dubois. I'm not comparing. So forget Ngannou. What I'm talking about is looking how he approached it coming out, flat-footed, solid jab, boom. I'm looking at his. Now that start is the start he should have brought in against Dubois. Now, did he bring that start in because he knew the capability and the level of Ngannou, or because that's what he can? So he's proved he can do it. He proves he has it in his artillery, but he chose not to. And so within the first 30 seconds, I said, he's getting knocked out tonight. That, he's done. You know, and I'm straight away, you had that sinking feeling. And then as the fight rolls on, the rest is history.
Just looking at today, we've obviously had the press conference of Beterbiev versus Bivol, and there was one moment in particular that stood out for a lot of people. Chris Eubank Jr. Seems that he's just sent shots at basically every promoter in the industry, bar Ben Shalom. When you're seeing him just go onto the stage and say things like that, it's definitely a bit of a shock to the system and a shock to our ears, isn't it?
Shock. You know what? I think many fighters have wanted to be able to speak of their frustrations of promoters or whatever. So true or false, wrong or right, what Chris did was what a lot of fighters would like to do, and he spoke his truth as far as he was concerned. So what he did was, I actually looked, I thought, you know what, good on you, man, that takes balls, Dread, because you know solicitors' letters are going to be flying left, right and centre, and most fighters don't want to be put in that position told to keep stum. Most promoters have got so much money they can scare you with a couple of letters that are £100 a piece. But Chris was like, nah, you ain't scaring me. I'm going to speak my speed. And I'm quite sure Turkey was like, you know what? Good on Turkey, respect that, because he said, look, the most, as far as I'm concerned, the most honest one out there is Turkey. And so it's not like they'll sling him off the bill, because Turkey's the boss. So what Chris did was, Chris did what he wanted to do. And because he's in a position to do that. Most fighters won't do that because they'll get scared by solicitors letters sent through, which in a way is wrong, because most fighters are, a lot of fighters are probably not happy with certain aspects of their career, but their hands are tied and their mouth zipped up. Chris, I looked, I thought, I just chuckled, I thought, oh my God, mic drop, boy.
Just looking at Chris, staying on the topic of him, a lot of fans have criticised this fight that he's in. Obviously, we can't change that now. That fight's going to happen regardless. But going forward, what fights would you like to see Chris Eubank Jr. in?
Chris can pick any fight he wants, because Chris, the position he's at, he's a businessman as well as a boxer. So regardless, you're going to watch him. Chris is, I'm sure, earning handsomely to do what he's doing. So in doing that, Chris has decided. Can decide who he wants to box. He's still going to watch, especially with doing stuff like that. He's like his dad. It's what he doesn't say that intrigues you, as well as what he does say. So he's one of the few fighters that's making the most out of his business in this sport.
What do you make of him supposedly turning down the $5 million to fight Hamza Shiraz on the Riyadh season card that we've just seen?
So who did we hear that from?
Frank Warren said it supposedly. Well, no, so apparently I think it was Eubank who said that there was $5 million offered, or Ben. So
if Eubank said it, as far as he can, then we'll comment on it. But if it's rumoured, then you can't really comment on it, because unless it's come from a solid source. So if Eubank said it and that's what he thinks, he's probably thinking, I'm looking forward. Thanks for the money, but I'm looking forward. I've got bigger fish to fry. If that fight's going to happen, Shiraz will get himself into a position where he's in front of or beside of Chris. Or Chris might think he's worth a lot more money, but not yet. So it's show business, and he's making sure he capitalises on the business side of it.
And just very lastly, Beterbiev Bivol. If I was to ask you for a prediction on who wins this fight and how, what would you say?
Beterbiev on points, a hard grueling fight. I think his style for this style of fight comes out on top.
Johnny, thank you very much for your time. Always good to talk, and we'll speak again soon. Cheers.